Hello, everyone and friends. Welcome to Trending. Trending is a show that captures what is happening in the San Gabriel Valley. Anything that's new, hot, exciting, from artists to galleries to restaurants to museums, we are going to cover it and capture it for you. First, we have Betsy Woodford, who is a native to Monrovia. Betsy is an award-winning oil painter in the Impressionist style. She's a traveler, a storyteller, writer, and a teacher, all of which she brings to her company, which is Paris to Pasadena Art Workshop. Welcome, Betsy.
Thank you. Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for joining us today.
Sure. Always welcome to talk about Impressionism.
Well, let's talk about Impressionism.
Okay.
Let's talk about Impressionism. First of all, how long have you been living in Monrovia or Pasadena area?
Well, I've been living in Monrovia for 4 years, but I was born in Pasadena.
Awesome.
So I've been in the San Gabriel Valley forever.
Wow. What led you to create Paris to Pasadena Art Workshop?
Well, it really combines my love of travel and my love of painting and Impressionism, because Paris is where, and its environs, is where Impressionism was born. And Pasadena was a big hotbed of Impressionist painters back in the early 1900s. So we have a heritage here that goes back from where it was born in Pasadena, in Paris, to Pasadena.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I mean, I think you can actually count yourself back as an Impressionist painter here. I can count back and how to get to Paris, and Monet can be my great-great-great-great-grandfather, artistically speaking.
Now, what got you started in the work of Impressionism painting? Why Impressionism?
Yeah, why Impressionism? I just saw the paintings and I loved them. The Impressionism is the first time where artists really get more of their own point of view and heart and soul into their paintings. Before that, it was all classic, it was all religious scenes or mythological scenes. But in Impressionism, they painted the landscapes, the common people, the common things in people's homes, and it really was a more comment on their society and who they were as painters. Mm-hmm. And then and then I love the brush strokes too, and the colors.
And who were some of the pioneer Impressionist paintings?
Well, Claude Monet. Claude Monet is the pioneer, the father of Impressionism.
So Claude Monet is the father of Impressionism.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
He did the first one, his Impression Sunrise. The title of that painting was what then gave Impressionism its name.
Wow.
And he always did how the light would hit an object. That was his thing, and that's what Impressionism is based on.
So if you were to define Impressionism, how would you define the style?
Impressionism is, it's the way the light hits an object. It's the type of brush strokes of being really loose and free. And it's the content that they picked. It's landscapes and regular people doing regular things.
And is that what you do? Is that
Yes.
that comprises your work?
Yes.
Because you're a wonderful painter. We've got
thank you.
Some great pieces here.
Thank you.
And they're absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. The one on the far left is from Paris. That is a park in Paris that I was walking through and turned around and saw this shot and took a picture of it, and I said, "That's a painting."
Wow, that's beautiful.
And thank you. That's my brand new one.
Where in Paris were you when you painted that?
I believe that was the Luxembourg Park.
Okay, wow. Okay, all right, lovely. And you painted it when you got back here, or did
Yes.
you do it right when you were in Paris?
No, it's kind of a lot of trouble to travel with oil paints,
Oh,
and so
okay,
I do a lot of it from photographs.
Oh, okay.
So I take photographs.
Let me ask you, when you were there, did you, because when you're in Paris, you see a lot of artists on the street painting.
Yes.
Were you led to do that?
I would love to have done that. I did do that with my little travel kit.
Yeah.
I did paint in Paris with my little travel kit, but I didn't set up a full easel or anything.
you didn't.
But to me, the point of going to Paris is to go to the Musée d'Orsay, which has the best Impressionist art collection in the whole world, in my humble
Really?
opinion. Yeah, so it's wonderful there.
And who are the artists that you see
it's
there?
Manet, it's Monet, Sicily, Pissarro, Berthe Morisot, and then you get into a little bit of Van Gogh and stuff. He's not quite an impressionist; he's a little post-impressionist, but definitely the freedom of his brushstrokes counts.
How long did you spend in the museum? Because you can walk into those museums and spend all day, and then come back and say, "Okay, I'll do another day or another museum." What did you do?
Yeah. I went 3 separate times and spent about 2 hours each time, because eventually, as you walk through it, you get overstimulated, and it just gets to be too much.
Right.
So I made sure I allowed plenty of time to keep going back.
What was stimulating you? Was it what actually was moving you? Was it the time period? Was it the colors? Was it being in the space of these great artists? What was it?
It's being in the birthplace of Impressionism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my favorite painting in the Musée d'Orsay is Olympia by Edouard Manet, and it's this woman laying out on a couch. She's a lady, a streetwalker lady.
Okay.
And she's laying out there, and she has a look in her eye like, yeah, and what's your problem? and he painted this with beautiful brushstrokes, and of course it was very controversial at the time.
Right, yeah.
So you have all this history there of the paintings that I sort of grew up studying. You have Monet's haystacks, you have water lilies, you have Berthe Morisot and her women and children. So it's the birthplace of Impressionism.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us about the second painting.
Oh,
over
well,
here.
this is a still life of Peaches that I set up in my own studio at home, and I just painted it as it sat there on the table. Still lifes are a tradition in Impressionism. Many of the old masters did still lifes as well.
Wow.
And then over here on this side is a landscape.
Okay.
And I do a lot of landscapes because the beauty of nature, you can just bring it into your home. And when you stand out there and you paint nature, instead of just driving through or just hiking through, when you stand there and look at it and paint it, it really gets it into your heart and your memory.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I do a lot of landscapes.
I'm going to just take a look at it and see what it is.
Okay, sure.
Okay, are these our mountains, the San Gabriel Mountains?
They are.
Okay.
Yes, I have painted quite a bit in our mountains. Eaton Canyon is a very popular painting spot for contemporary painters. And Monrovia Canyon, I've been up there painting as well.
Right,
Yes.
wonderful. Betsy is an award-winning oil painter in the Impressionist style. She's a traveler, a storyteller, writer, and teacher, all of which she brings to the Pasadena Art Workshop. Through serious travels in France, Betsy has literally walked in the footsteps of the Impressionist masters, studying and painting in Paris, Normandy, and Provence. Her landscapes, seascapes, cityscapes, and still lives have won numerous awards and have been accepted into shows and galleries throughout California. Thank you for being my guest. I want you to give us a demonstration of the work that you do. Do you mind?
Sure, happy to.
Okay. And tell us what you're doing as you do it.
Sure.
So tell us what you brought today,
Well,
Betsy.
this is a typical palette with the typical colors that an impressionist would use.
Are you guys able to see those colors pretty okay?
They did studies of what colors the French Impressionists used, and we have the advantage of more modern materials, but this is basically what they used.
Tell me about these colors. These are beautiful.
Thank you. These are all the colors that are typical of an Impressionist palette, and they're all old-fashioned colors made out of minerals, so that means they will mix up the same way the French Impressionist colors mix.
Oh, wow.
Nowadays, we have more modern colors made out of inks, but I don't use those because we want them to look properly Impressionistic.
Can you see her okay? Okay.
This is my French easel. This is what I take when I go out painting. If I want to go to Eaton Canyon and I want to stand there and paint in person, I take this and I set it up and I start drawing in on my painting.
Now, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, okay? Can you tell me what these colors are?
I sure
Tell me
can.
the names of the colors.
This is titanium white. This is cadmium yellow, lemon. This is cadmium yellow, medium. Cadmium yellow, dark. Orange. Scarlet red. This is called a flesh tone. Alizarin crimson, cerulean blue, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, sap green, viridian green. This is just a warm gray. Burnt sienna, raw yellow ochre, and nickel titanium white.
Wow. And these are the exact colors that the masters used.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. And you'll notice there's no black on the palette. They didn't really use black. That was one of their artistic choices that they
Wow.
started with.
Very
they did not
nice.
use black.
But if you mixed a couple colors,
Oh,
you
yeah.
you could come up with black.
Oh
though,
yeah,
right?
I'm gonna mix.
Okay.
I'm gonna mix a dark
All
color
right,
right
let's
now
see, let's
because
see.
we
Wait,
want.
one more question. I'm
Sure,
sorry.
sure, no problem.
So wait, so if you were to go up to, let's say, Eaton Canyon,
Yes,
and you would take this palette or canvas,
canvas. Yes.
would it be already, I guess, drafted like this, or what would you call this? It's already
Well, this is the line.
outline?
This is the line drawing. See, I'm basing it on a photograph that I
Oh.
took in Yosemite. Another
Oh.
place I just love to paint because it's so beautiful.
Very nice.
So in order to do a demonstration, it's nice to have the line drawing in there. But what I would do is if I were standing there looking at the painting, I always divide my canvas into thirds. It helps me place the things, and then I would just start drawing lines on here and just figuring out. And so I've already done that. So the first thing I always do is you have to put in your darks. You want a pattern of darks in throughout your painting in order to make a nice pattern. So I've mixed up, this is the pattern in the pine trees, and I just mixed up sap green and burnt sienna, and it makes a nice warm brown, as you can see.
Wow.
So just stick in the darks, and you want good darks so that everything else will show up against it.
So let me ask a question. You
Mm-hmm.
always take a picture before you paint?
No, if I'm out painting, then I will paint from nature.
Okay.
But I always take a picture of it to then bring home, so that I
Okay,
can
so-
paint another painting or fix the one that I have.
Very good.
And actually, when you go out painting, the light changes. See, it would take me about 2 hours to do this whole painting.
Okay, right.
And as you stand outside painting, the light changes.
Yes.
So you want to be able to capture what you had,
Got you.
how you started. And with all the digital cameras and stuff we have nowadays, it's easier than ever to do that. So that's a good thing. Okay, so we have a lot of darks over here on this left side in the pine tree. So
I see that.
let's just put some of those in.
Let's put them in.
Yeah.
Betsy, are you going to let me paint a little bit?
Sure.
You know, I only do stick figures. I told you that, right?
But you did, but you know what? I always say that with landscapes, you don't have to draw anything symmetrical because all the bushes are crooked.
There you go.
So it's more than fine to. And it would be interesting as well to feel, because see, the oil paint is actually very thick. I always say it's like painting with toothpaste.
Wow.
It's very thick, and so that's why you need a really stiff brush to kind of get it on there. So okay, let's do a little more green then, because we've got our darks in. We want these pine trees to kind of look more like pine trees.
As you're painting this, Betsy, I understand that you also give tours to the Norton Simon Museum's Impressionist exhibits.
I do. I take students over there and I tell them the stories behind the paintings that are hanging on the walls, and that way I can help my students like step behind the easel of the French Impressionists and learn about them. There's a painting there by Monet that was in the Salon. So what happened?
Salon,
The Paris Salon was what artists got selected to. It was a huge art show that was sponsored by the government that happened
Wow.
every 2 years. And it was a huge deal to get selected for the Salon. That's how you made your career.
Wow.
So Monet, when he was 26 years old, got an early painting selected for the Salon, and it's hanging in the Norton Simon. So we
Really?
can
Is it
talk
original?
about it. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Fantastic.
The Norton Simon has a wonderful Impressionist collection.
Wow.
And so I take my students there. I tell them the stories behind the paintings, what the painters were like, and then we get out our sketchbooks and we stand there and we look at the paintings and we sketch and we learn from the masters.
Very nice.
So it's totally cool.
Very nice.
It's totally cool. Love it.
Very nice. And we'll learn more about her tours when she's done painting.
Okay, so pine trees are, they just have their branches coming down.
This actually looks really easy to paint, but I know it's not. I know it's not.
It's not. It's not. It's
Just because you look like you have only maybe 4 colors. You have your blues, your greens, your whites, and that's it.
Well, yes.
You don't have any reds, any yellows. You don't have that.
But
then you do.
But I will mix them. I mean, I will mix the reds and the yellows in. Indeed, when I'm starting to do the pine tree, I mixed in some yellow ochre to start making that green a little more yellow.
So,
because as the sun hits the tree, the green is going to get more and more yellow.
Very nice. Your students are wannabe painters? Are they already painters? Are they learning? What are they learning from you?
They are beginning to intermediate painters who want to learn how to paint Impressionism, and I'm trying to help their skills advance so that they can, do ever more better and complicated paintings. There are a lot of tools that artists use. I mean, we use the color, we use the value, we use the composition, we use brush strokes, so we use shapes. So all of those things we need to keep advancing our skills in so that we can create paintings that are better than ever.
Wonderful.
It's kind of like being a simple cook for your family. You know how to do scrambled eggs, or you're a famous TV chef cook and you do really fancy stuff with eggs.
Right.
It's the same, but the skills are different.
I understand.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And how long have you been conducting tours at the Norton Simon Museum?
I've been doing the tours at the Norton Simon for about a year now. I've been learning to paint and painting for about 15 years. And I've been teaching for a couple of years.
Now, your Paris to Pasadena art workshop has been in existence how long?
2 years.
2 years. And what led you to create this art workshop?
Well, I found that it sort of comes down to the theme of things my art teacher never taught me. I found that there was so much I was trying to learn myself that I couldn't find the answer to anywhere, and so I learned it myself. I read books, I tried things. So I want to be able to teach my students things about composition and things about color and things about value that I never learned in any of the art classes I took. And it's a complete approach. I mean, to go to a museum and actually study the paintings and then go back and try a painting yourself. I mean, that gives you a 360-degree view of learning how to paint, and most art classes don't do that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What did you study, Betsy?
I didn't have any formal art education like in a school or anything. I picked up classes through local art teachers, and then I'll travel. Last month I was in Ventura taking a class from a painter who travels around teaching classes. So there are lots of painters who teach classes, and I've just picked up some of them. Now,
when did you know that you had a gift or a love for painting? How old were you? Were you 2?
No. I've always done crafts. I've done crafts my whole life, but I didn't really start painting until I was an adult. I went to the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and there was an Impressionist show there, and I was just like, oh, I love these. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to do it? And I walked into the gift shop, and I was buying some books, and the man said, do you paint? And I said, no. And he said, well, we need people on both sides of the easel. And I was like, well, wait a minute, I can get behind the easel. Why can't I do this? And that's when I found my first class. In fact, my very first class was with the Monrovia Adult Education School.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then just more classes through the years, and just painting a lot. I say it's like golf. It's like learning to play a musical instrument too. You have to get the physicality down of how to do your brush strokes.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So
you have okay, does this have anything to do with your work?
that is paint thinner.
Okay, paint thinner.
It's just paint thinner.
I said, do we have olives for lunch? Okay.
No.
Olives for the pizza. That's going to be edited out. Okay.
Now, as I'm doing the trees in the background, you want to push them back. They have to be a little farther away, so they're going to be a little bluer. And it's so wonderful when you stand there in Yosemite, painting the trees and seeing how beautiful it is.
Wow.
And then what's funny is, of course, as you stand there, people come up and talk to you. And you're trying to actually sort of maintain your concentration here. So, but there was a
And
girl.
you don't want to be rude. You
don't want to be rude.
Listen, I'm busy right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of busy.
Creating a masterpiece. You don't want to do that.
But there was a man who came up with his 7-year-old daughter, and he said she's an artist too. And so I really wanted to take time to talk with her because, so her, kids need encouragement.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Do you have an age range for your students? Like, do you take kids in high school or
mostly adults? I mean, you'd have to be almost an adult to do this. I don't really deal with kids art. That's got a whole separate approach.
Okay, yeah.
It really is. So I don't do that. But
now I told you I only paint stick figures, but is there something I could try?
sure. You want to okay, see these pine trees here in the back?
Can I switch sides with her for a minute? Okay. Can I switch sides with you? Do you mind?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so just try putting in some darks. The sun's coming from over here.
Okay, wait, let me see. I have to see the picture. I'm going to cheat.
Sorry.
Okay, so I should put in darks?
Yeah, just put in the color.
Okay, I'm so excited right now. I get
the color you have on your brush is a dark.
Oh, you put it on there?
Yeah, or you can mix up your own
Can I have
color.
this blue?
Sure.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm really doing this. Fantastic. Okay. Now what?
Go. Oh, just mark it down on the right-hand side of each of those trees because each tree has a light side and a dark side.
Oh. Oh my gosh, this is great. Is that it? Did I do it?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Okay. Can I get like co-painting credit on this piece?
Sure.
This is not right. Is this right?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, here we go. A little bit more. Okay. Wow. Okay, but we can mix that in, like blend it up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love this. So if I want to, really learn how to do this, what do I need to do?
Well, actually, I do have a beginning oil painting class starting up in April, since you asked.
Fantastic. Tell us about that.
Well, I teach out of my home art studio, and I'm going to start a 6-week-long oil painting class for beginners, and we're going to work on landscapes. And then after that one is done, then I'm going to do a composition class for a little more intermediate painters, and that'll be 8 weeks. And all of that is listed on my website.
Give us your website, please.
My website is paristopasadena.com. And the 3 art tours that I also have scheduled coming up are also on the website.
Wow, that is wonderful. I am so excited and so happy to have you here. How am I doing?
Good, looks good. We got the darks in there.
We got the darks in there,
Yeah.
but they don't look like trees. I'm just saying.
This is the preliminary stage. They're going to look like trees.
I can put a little.
Sure, as you go on, they'll look more like trees.
Okay.
Yeah, I always put in layers of paint. The darks are usually the thinnest layer, and they sort of recede to the back. And then as you add more layers on top of the tree, then you add the things that are in the light or coming towards you. So you have...
So should I put another color in there right now?
You could. You could, but
tell
we have to wipe off your brush first.
Okay. Yep.
So what I've mixed up for you here is a green with some yellow on it. So you want to do the sides of the left sides of the trees that have some sun on them.
Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, this is the sun. Look at that.
Yeah, the sun. Everything has a light where the sun hits it, and then a medium with just sort of its natural color, and then a side that's darker that's in the shade. So trees always have that.
Look what I've done.
Yes, see, there you go.
Okay, so let's do a little bit more. Oh. There we go. It's looking like a tree to you.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
It's looking like a tree to you.
Well, but that's the thing about Impressionism is that the brush strokes that you see up close are not necessarily what it looks like when you stand 4 or 5 feet away. The brush strokes kind of meld together to form a larger shape. So when you paint a painting, actually you want to have something interesting to look right up close, and you want to have something interesting from 5 feet away, and you want to have something that's from across the room. So when somebody walks into a gallery or a museum, the painting just grabs them.
Wow.
And so because Impressionist brushstrokes are not smooth and flat, you kind of see different things the farther away you stand.
Do you think Impressionist painting is easier to master than any other form or style of painting?
No, I don't think it's easier. I think it's harder, probably for the reason I just described, in that the brush strokes that you see as you're actually sitting here aren't necessarily what it looks like when you get 5 feet away.
Yeah.
Impressionism, to me, it really is based on the shapes. In order to have all these nice, lovely, wild brush strokes, you have to have good shapes underneath it. For instance, this shape right here is a bush. So what I would do when I started painting that bush is put in the dark and the medium and the light and make sure everything stays in that shape.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much
You're
for working with a novice, a beginner,
You're very
a
welcome.
stick figure painter,
Very
and
welcome.
turning her into an Impressionist painter.
Sure.
So tell me, why are you interested in French Impressionism?
Well, French Impressionism is where it all started. You know, the French Impressionists actually didn't paint like Impressionists when they started their careers. They evolved into it as they kept going.
What did they paint like?
They paint like realism. They painted realism.
Realism
Yeah.
before Impressionism.
Yeah,
Oh.
and so then they would go out and they would see these scenes, and they would go painting, you know, in the landscape, and then you had to do it more quickly. You couldn't use the old techniques. You had to invent new techniques. And so it's the variety and the brush strokes that just drew me in, and the colors. A lot of the old-time colors in realism they're grays and browns and dark reds and dark blues, you know, but the Impressionists put white and yellow and orange on their palettes.
Wow.
And used them on a regular basis, and so the colors are wonderful.
And they didn't use those colors in realism.
Only very,
Not so much.
only very briefly.
Yeah.
You know, just tiny little areas with those colors.
Does the San Gabriel Valley have a part in the Impressionist movement?
Oh, absolutely, because when Pasadena was being founded back in the late 1800s, artists were coming out from the East Coast to live in the greater Los Angeles area. You know, we had great weather, we had beautiful scenery, so there were pockets of painters in Southern California, one in Laguna Beach, and one in the Arroyo Seco in Pasadena. So Pasadena was a hotbed of artists right at the turn of the century in the 1900s.
Wow. How does one paint an Impressionistic painting?
You have to start with good shapes. You have to start with a scene that touches you somehow.
Would this be a good shape?
Sure, absolutely.
My teacup, it would be a good shape?
Absolutely.
Very nice.
It's got very good form to it. It has a distinctive shape, and we could paint that right now.
We could?
Sure, we could.
Don't tell me that. we could get started right away.
Yeah,
Okay.
But when I say good shapes, of course, in landscapes, sometimes the bushes sort of meld into each other, or the trees are kind of right next to each other. So you have to be able to differentiate those shapes to be able to hang your brush strokes on.
I want to go back and ask you about, you said a lot of painters migrated here from the East Coast.
Yes.
Because of the landscape?
Yes.
And was there any other reason?
Well, you know, it's, you know, California
I'm
was
sure
sort of the land of fortune.
They painted Impressionistic painting back east. You know, you're a hop, skip, and a jump from Paris, right over the puddle.
That's right. A lot of New York painters went to Paris to study to paint.
Right.
But you know, in California, the weather's good. Several of them came out for their health. I've talked a lot about the French Impressionist painters, but I've also done a lot of study on the California Impressionist painters as well.
Okay.
And because we have a rich heritage here in Pasadena of those people painting here. And so they lived in Pasadena, they would get their Model Ts, they would load the canvas in the back, they would drive up to the Sierras and they would paint. They would go to Laguna Beach, they would paint the San Gabriel Mountains. And these paintings of the San Gabriel are so interesting because, of course, there were no houses there yet.
Right,
There's a poppy field in front of the mountains. So they're beautiful paintings, yeah.
Wow, very nice. Tell me about your paintings. What do you try to achieve? What's important to you?
My paintings, I really like to just capture the beauty of nature. I just want it to be serene and beautiful and colorful. I'm very much love the brighter colors. So often I will amp up the colors from what I see. I just like to capture the beauty of nature.
Very nice. And I recognize that. I recognize that in this piece right here with the San Gabriel Mountains. It is just very beautiful and peaceful. It's lovely.
It
Very
is.
lovely.
It is.
Very lovely. Tell me, are your struggles today as a painter different than those of the French Impressionists?
They all, in some ways it's harder and in some ways it's easier. I mean, the French Impressionists were making it up as they went along. We have all this benefit of all the knowledge, you know,
Right.
of what's come before. But, you know, in some instances, we still struggle to earn a living much as they did, although the French Impressionists never got a side job. They just painted and starved.
They painted and starved.
Yeah, the American Impressionists.
This is the place to do
This
it.
is the place to do it. At least you have sunshine.
Right.
The American Impressionists, often they had a side job. They were a photographer or graphic artist or worked for a magazine. So us contemporary painters, we do that now too. All of my friends who are painters, we all, it's a very, very serious hobby that we have. We try and do as much of it as we can. We show in shows. And we're very lucky as well because the materials are so available to us now. Whereas the French Impressionists, they barely had paint in tubes at that point.
Wow, yeah. And when they didn't have the paint in tubes, what did they use?
They put them in like pig's bladders. They had to crush up the minerals by hand, mix them with oil, stick them in pig's bladders, and then try and go out painting with them. I mean, it was very difficult. So the plein air style of painting really only started when the tin tube was invented in the mid-1800s.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Betsy Woodford from the Paris to Pasadena Art Workshop. You can find out more about Betsy's work if you visit her website, which is www.paristopasadena.com. You can find Betsy on Facebook, Paris to Pasadena, or you can find Betsy on Twitter, Art Guide Betsy. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you so much.
And I enjoy your work, and we are very happy and hopeful that we'll get some other folks to come and partake of your wonderful gifts. Thank you.
Thank you so much.